Hopefully you guys can see okay. What is up, you guys? I'm James with James' Reptiles. In today's video, we're going to be talking about what reptile you should breed.
But you can live pretty well by yourself.
Now, this channel is based on breeding and how I breed, and I use it as a business. I know a lot of people want to do that. A lot of people want to breed for fun. A lot of people just end up breeding on accident, and there's a lot that goes into it, and a lot of people question, well, what should I breed, right? And that's what I'm here to answer today. I have a list of bullet points I just want to go over as general topics, and I'll rant about them. I have been breeding reptiles for about 5 years. I've worked with 7 species of reptiles, along with lots of inverts and other things. So with that being said, let's get into it. So currently I breed leopard geckos, crested geckos, gargoyle geckos, Vietnamese blue beauty rat snakes, and corn snakes. And they're all different, right? A lot of it depends on a lot of these factors I'm about to talk about. So the first one I want to talk about is space, and this is a big one for people getting into it, because when you're getting into reptiles, like I have this whole reptile room, right? When you're getting into reptiles, you don't have an empty room that you're going to fill with reptiles usually. You have your nightstand dresser or something like that, right? And that's how I started. You know, you start with 1 or 2 leopard geckos, so space is a big thing. And I'll talk about why I did everything I did with each point. So why I picked leopard geckos is you can keep them in a very small space, right? Of course, there are ball pythons that are worth $35,000 or $50,000, but in the space it takes to keep a couple of those ball pythons fit, you know, 50 leopard geckos that could still be worth $1,000 each. So, and with that, you know, if your one ball python dies, you're screwed. If one of your leopard geckos dies, it's not the end of the world. You have 49 more. So space is a big thing. If you have a lot of space, you have opportunity to do other things like ball pythons or boas, which take up a lot of space, or iguanas, which take a huge amount of space, right? So space is really important. The second thing I put down is time. Time is a big factor, right? Crested geckos, I love them. I love them with all my heart. I have to feed them and spray them every other day. Well, for the most part, people that keep them say they need to be sprayed every day. I don't agree with that. I have had success for the past 5 years. Everyone does a great job. Everyone lays. No one has really died. And I spray every other day, which, you know, if you're used to cats and dogs, feeding them and giving them fresh water every day or feeding them a couple times a day, it's insane, right? But actually, those take the most care. The snakes, I could get away with checking them once a week. Same with the leopard geckos. Now the snakes, I like to check 2 times a week. I can feed them one day, wait like 4 days, check the poop, and feed them again the next time. Same with the leopard geckos. I really only check them once a week. I might check them again for eggs in between, but I can get away with it. So if there's less time spent on every single animal, you have more time to work with more animals. The more animals you have, the more money you could make breeding, and the more you could breed, and the blah blah blah, the more time you could do shows, the more time you could do videos, whatever, right? It's a give and take. I like the schedule I have because I can check everything once a week, and the crested geckos I just care for every other day. So that still gives me a lot of time off. Any day, I only work 3 days a week. Any day I work, I really don't touch the animals, and I like it that way. I like to work long days. I like to come home, relax. I wake up, get ready, play a couple games on the computer, and go to work. Come home, play a couple games, relax, eat dinner with the girlfriend or my brother, and go to bed. So the third thing on my list is comfortability. Crested geckos, you can feed them Pangea their whole life. When you're first getting into reptiles and you're probably getting your first species to breed, you may not feel comfortable feeding mice, especially live mice. I know a lot of ball pythons only eat live mice. Not a lot of people are comfortable holding snakes, or maybe you don't want to breed tarantulas because they creep you out. That's me, they creep me out. But crested geckos are super easy because they eat the Pangea, which is basically fruit powder. Yes, you can feed them crickets. I don't usually do that. I have been doing it more and more, just because it's been working out, my schedule, it's weird, it's a whole scenario. Leopard geckos are mealworms. Yes, they're still worms, but you know, to a lot of people, those aren't as bad as crickets or dubia or live mice. And a lot of people don't want mice in their freezer. So finding something that fits you and maybe it gets you comfortable, right? Maybe you start with crested geckos, but as you go to expos and you see your friends' collections, you get more comfortable with these other things. So that is a big one. Like I said, I don't care about what I'm feeding mice, insects, whatever, as long as it's not spiders. I do not like spiders. And I really don't like centipedes either. Scorpions are fine with me. Actually, I really like scorpions. I should get a couple. I should get a pet scorpion. That'd be cool. That'd be a cool thing for the channel. Experience. Maybe you kept a corn snake as a kid. Maybe your family had a pet bearded dragon. That's one we haven't talked about because I don't keep bearded dragons because they take a lot of space and a lot of time, and that's not really it for me. But experience. Maybe you had a pet bearded dragon growing up. You kind of already know the care for him. It makes it a lot easier to get one or two and get into it. Along with time, there's a lot of research that goes into keeping these kind of animals. And I know Dave Kaufman just made a video about this gargoyle gecko at an expo that is 50 years old. Like, these are the commitments, people. You know, most reptiles live 20 to 30 years, and we're seeing even past that as our husbandry gets really good and we're understanding, you know, what needs heat and where it needs heat and all this stuff. Personally, I think it might even come into effect like what we see with fish, right? If you keep the water a little bit warmer, the fish grow faster, but they also die faster. It speeds up their lifespan. So maybe reptiles, maybe stuff like crested geckos that stay cooler, maybe they live longer, right? Something that stays really hot maybe doesn't live quite as long as it could if it was accustomed to a colder environment. But experience is a big one. You know, if you've never held a snake, I don't advise going out and getting a couple corn snakes. It's a big transition and you probably won't enjoy it. And the last thing on my list is preference, believe it or not. So you guys see, I work with a couple different species. What did I say, like 5 or 6 currently? And there's a big reason for that. You know, a lot of people, a lot of my friends, I go over to their house and they have like 2 of everything I've ever seen at an expo. Every time I go to an expo, they come home with 3 different new species. And while it's all good and well, personally, I think there's not a lot of money in that. You know, it's a lot harder to check everything and keep track of everything when everything's on a different feeding schedule. Everything needs different care, everything needs different substrate you have to keep buying. It's a lot easier when all the snakes use the same substrate and all the geckos either on paper towel or eco-earth, right? I'm only buying 3 different kinds of food: mice, Pangea, and mealworms. And really, I'm breeding my own mealworms. So there you go. But no, preference is a big thing, right? I am, in a lot of people's eyes, I'm a leopard gecko breeder. And I do snakes and crested geckos on the side. Theoretically, if I had just stuck with leopard geckos and that's all I was doing, I could fit a ton of leopard geckos in this room. I have 26 females. I could literally like 8 times that in this room. Incubator space might be a little tight, but I could do a lot of leopard geckos in this room. The crested geckos, the amount of space they take up for 3 females versus what 3 female leopard geckos takes up is like 3 times the space, which is insane. Really, it would be a smarter move to do all leopard geckos, but my preference is a little bit of diversity. That's why every couple months you see me, I'll be like, oh, I want to start my fish tank back up again. Well, now I'm at that point where I'm like, nah, I don't want the fish tank anymore. I want to get a scorpion. Because, you know, I have that itch just like everyone else. Just like everyone who goes to a show and buys a new animal at every expo, I have that itch too. The only difference is if I can push it back further and further and only do it every once in a while, well, one, I'm really smart about what I'm buying. A lot of times I buy something I want to breed the fish, I bred. I didn't really make money on them. It is what it is. I've lost money on projects before. It was kind of a for fun project anyway. You know, having a slight variety makes it so I'm not just, oh, let me go buy this, or let me go buy an axolotl, or let me go buy whatever animal, you know? So, and you've seen it before on the channel when I was doing the ball pythons. Tried it, didn't like it. Ice spots, I had those for a long time. They were alright. They weren't as exciting as I thought they'd be. What else? I had the bearded dragon. Bearded dragons are a lot of work, a lot of space. I already didn't have the space, and you know, once I had it for a little bit, I kind of stopped caring, and then someone wanted to buy it, and luckily I made my money back. Plus, well, I doubled my money, thankfully. And yeah, it's a lot of preference. So you really need to think about, you know, what are you doing, why are you breeding, and who you are as a person. I breed to make money, but I also know I need to control my urge of buying random stuff. So I have a lot of animals. I have large groups of a small amount of species. And what that allows me to do is I can have 8 adult corn snakes, 15 adult crested geckos, 30 adult leopard geckos. This will let me be a good sized breeder in that area without only having a couple. So I can have an assortment of leopard geckos, and I can have an assortment of crested geckos. I have like 30 crested gecko eggs right now. I have like 50 leopard gecko eggs. And I pick these species for a reason too. When I'm picking to breed for profit, what I look for is a species that's really well known that usually has a good amount of morphs. Leopard geckos was obvious for me. That's what I had experience in. I knew they didn't take a lot of time. I knew they didn't take a lot of space. I was comfortable with them, and I had a preference to them because they don't take a lot of space. They're really easy to take care of. And I knew that a species that a lot of people had, and there were a lot of high-end morphs that I could breed for good profit. And then I was gifted crested geckos, which at this point in my time I hadn't really thought about. And that's when lily white crested geckos came out, and now xanthics, and now melanistics, and cappuccinos, and all these other morphs are coming out. And we're seeing a very large influx of crested gecko breeders, whereas when I first got mine and I was doing the research, people were saying, oh, these are going to be dirt cheap $10 feeder geckos in a matter of years. So definitely got lucky there. And now we have lily whites, and I do plan on getting het xanthics this year. I think that will absolutely skyrocket. Het xanthics will sell for at least the price of my black knights, if not double that, which is insane. And then 1 in 4 of a het to a het will be a visual. Hopefully I get a pair when I buy my 2 babies, but time will tell. What else? So I have the corn snakes, and yes, they take up a lot of space. Same with the crested geckos. They're time efficient, and I'm comfortable with them, and I have experience with them. And I do have a preference to them. I wanted some kind of snake. Their enclosures, their tubs, work really well in the room because I can scoot them from side to side. I can make it work. I can't put a leopard gecko rack on the ground and scoot it. I can't put, you know, a bearded dragon cage on the ground and scoot it. Snakes were a perfect choice. Again, I got lucky. I had them before I lived here, but I don't consider it luck. Mostly, I consider it smart decisions. Corn snakes are a very basic pet reptile. A lot of people have them. They have a lot of morphs. A lot of awesome, expensive morphs are just coming out, like palmetto and scaleless. Of course, those have been around for a few years now. But I have a palmetto snake. After this year, I have a het male already coming, waiting for the weather to get better. After this year, I probably plan on getting a pair of scaleless. Then with the blue beauties, those take a lot of space. They don't really take a lot of time. I'm pretty comfortable with them. I'm not gonna take the male out. The problem is I open the male's cage, and if I don't feed him and close it, or change the water and close it, or clean up poop and close it, he pokes his head out. He pokes his head around one of the metal poles, and you cannot move his head. You have to let his body through. And the problem with that is you let his body through, he goes around another metal pole. He goes under the freezer. He goes behind that rack. Last time I tried to take him out, I took the whole room apart. It was late to work. Now, I have a little bit of experience. This is where there's some overlap. You know, it's a snake. I have experience with corn snakes. I have experience with other snakes. So it wasn't that crazy of a jump, and it was very high on my preference list, right? So there's another animal that is number 1 on my preference list. Blue beauties was number 1. I always tell everybody I meet, I say, whatever your dream species is, go buy it right now. Go start doing the research, find out how much you have to save up, because really, for the most part, these animals aren't out of anyone's price range. The blue beauties, I paid $300, $400 per animal. Well, now they're breeding and I'm selling them for $500 a piece. And isn't that just crazy? You know, I bought the 2 and I raised them up, and I'm selling the babies for almost as much as I bought a pair for. So the next animal on the next number 1 is the blue tree monitor. I think they're absolutely insane animals. Now, let's go on the list. Preference. Number 1, that's the number 1 animal I want. Number 2, experience. I have absolutely no experience with monitors, and that scares me because I would like to have it tame and tame it down, but I don't have experience. Comfortability. I am fairly comfortable. I would be afraid of hurting it. Time, they do take a lot of time. They're monitors. I want to tame it. I want to keep it trained. I believe you feed monitors like every other day. I absolutely have no idea. I haven't done the research because I know I'm not ready for it. Space. They take a lot of space. Blue tree monitors, especially 2 that you need to keep separate. Honestly, it would be like 3 foot by 8 foot by 3 foot minimum, I think is what it is. I've talked to a couple breeders over the years, and then we get into another thing. They are expensive. They are about $2,000 a piece. Actually, with COVID and everything going up, last time I talked to a breeder, they were $1,700. Now they're more like $4,000, which is insane. And this guy, my friend that's a seller, you buy an egg. So if the egg doesn't hatch, you're kind of fucked. And if the egg does hatch, you better hope it's the right gender that you want. So that's the next animal for me. I think obviously we'll get the het xanthics, and we'll spruce up every project. And that's another thing I want to talk about, unrelated. This is my space, my 10 by 10 reptile room. This is my space. I'm not going past this. I'm not gonna put animals in the living room. At this point in time, I know I've talked about in the past, I don't have any plans to rent out a bigger warehouse at the moment. What I really want to do, and what I think is best for the Gems Reptiles company, is maximize every project. So we have the leopard geckos. This will be the last year I'm breeding snows and super snows by themselves, not including the Black Knight projects. And that'll allow 3 more spots for female leopard geckos. And I'll probably buy a female Black Knight from a different line this year. Probably all black. I want to take a very dark Haas head eclipse from just my head eclipse line, and I want to breed that to some new blood, and that's probably where that'll go. And that'll just mean, I mean, think about this. I'm replacing leopard geckos that at most the babies are $90. I'm replacing them with geckos that are $900. So I'm 10xing that project. The palmetto corn snakes will literally 20x, because I wholesaled some normals this year for literally $20, which is good. I got good money at wholesale for that corn snake. Corn snakes are dirt cheap wholesale, but palmetto corn snakes will 100% sell, and you know, they're $600-700 right now. And that's another thing people don't think about, is when you breed all normals or you have 10,000 leopard geckos, it's hard to sell them all. You have to start wholesaling them. When I break everything into big chunks like this, it's easier because I only have X amount of corn snakes to sell. I only have X amount of geckos. Crested geckos, like I said, we're doing head xanthics. We'll at some point we'll take a couple babies and we'll throw it in with a lily white, and hopefully get into some of those other morphs like the melanistics. Who knows if we'd mix that? I'm sure there's people already breeding melanistics to head xanthics. At Brian, whatever his last name is, from Altitude Exotics. Brian, I don't know his name. And we're raising up more blue beauties, which honestly, I don't know where we're gonna put at this point. Yeah, that's about it. This video is already super long, and I apologize to the editor. He will be linked down in the description below. Check him out, and also check out my buddy Sammy. Sammy is in the Sacramento area. Actually, he's North Sac, and he delivers feeders. That's his business, right? He's got his own animals and he sells them, but he does a feeder delivery service. And that's the thing we see a lot here in Sacramento, is the Sacramento area is so big that people in the Facebook groups will be in Elk Grove, which is South Sac, super South Sac, and they'll want someone to drop off a single rat. They're like, oh, you're selling this rat? Can you deliver it? I don't drive. And that's an insane thing to ask, and no one wants to do that. Well, guess what? With a $5 fee and a like $30 minimum, Sammy will deliver rodents, insects, whatever you want. Live animals. He has a lot of local breeders that will sell to him, and he'll sell them to people. He sells cages, and he's just an awesome guy. And he also has a YouTube channel, so I'm going to link that below. I was in one of his recent videos, so go check that out. And comment below that you love his dog Panda, because Panda is so cute. Oh my gosh. Panda comes, he buys his rodents and insects from us at my work, and he brings his dog, and she's so cute. Oh, I love Panda. Okay, that's it for today's video. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. All that definitely helps with the channel. I appreciate you guys. If you want to see more content, let me know down below. Liking this video definitely lets me know. I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace out, and keep enjoying the hobby.